what are your thoughts on the subject of steroids and their role of boosting strength and endurance?
I've got mixed emotions on it. There's a part of me that says, man, let's let them take what they want, and let's see how far we can push this thing, because we love to see, incredible feats, and steroids going to help with that. And so many guys have accomplished these incredible feats on steroids with people not knowing, and it's going to be very hard for a guy to naturally accomplish some of these things now. At the same time, and for myself, being a strength athlete, I've never taken them. And it was something I always prided myself in going into a competition, especially strongman. I think there were quite a few guys that I would compete against. I was usually one of the smaller guys in the 231 weight class. I'd usually come in weighing about 215. And there were some dudes that were pretty obviously juicing. And I always took pride.
Do they test you? Do they test you or no in strongman?
Amateur strongman, they do not.
So you can pretty much get away with anything.
Yeah. And I always took a lot of pride competing naturally against those guys and still hold my own and sometimes winning. And same thing, weightlifting, powerlifting, they test a lot more with that. I don't ever recall anybody, any of my competitors like, oh, this guy's on the shit. But I always took pride in seeing how far I could get without taking.
Yeah, it's a weird conversation with steroids because similar to baseball, some people are stuck in tradition and they're not even willing to have a conversation about it. Like, what would the sport of baseball look like if steroids were legal, if athletes had access to it and were getting tested by doctors and doing it obviously there's risk, but doing it in a safer way. And so there are people that are willing to explore that as an option, and there are people who are not even willing to ask the question, what would happen if we open that door? And yeah, it's because steroids are a tool. That's why people take them across sports, whether it's to gain more endurance, like you're doing cycling, you're doing something like EPO, you're taking different types of steroids to get more quick twitch strength to hit home runs, or more of a combination if you're in UFC. But it is a tool to make you perform better, or else people wouldn't risk their profession and their livelihood to take it if it didn't work. And then you have the question, okay, people are going to take this regardless. Banning steroids in sports is basically a dance between the chemist and the regulatory organization. So a regulatory organization will discover a steroid, and then that steroid will be banned, and then chemists will then say, okay, how can I alter this slightly to give the same effect? It won't be detected. And so my opinion has changed on this over the years from early on in high school, saying, taking morality out of it, like the cheating part out of it, just looking at steroids as a tool in sports. At the beginning, I never thought I'd be okay watching a sport that had steroids introduced to it where you were allowed to do it. But then I started to realize that so many of these guys are doing it anyway. And if guys are going to do it, you may as well regulate it to the point where you can make it safer for the athletes. I think it would be safer for the athletes if steroids were made legal and regulated, because then you wouldn't be tested for, do you have steroids in your system? It would be, okay, are you taking steroids? Yes. Okay, let's test your levels and get a baseline and see how this affects you, rather than you hiding it and not coming to a doctor when you have a problem because you might also pop for something illegal. So that's been kind of the progression of my views over the years.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome if they regulated it in that way, because guys would be able to take them in a safe manner. You're still going to get the incredible feats on the field that you probably aren't going to get naturally, and it could in fact save lives. But at the same time, you're still going to have guys cheating. You're still going to have guys looking for that extra edge, whether it's, they might be taking steroids, but then they've got an untraceable steroid that they're also taking just to get that advantage because they think they need it. So I don't think there's a solution, to be honest with you. I think there's always going to be those guys looking for that unfair advantage, that competitive edge, especially when money's on the line.